So yeah, this should explain how I got to the point that I did in my nothing to see here video, which I'll probably put in the description for the video as well, just in case anyone is curious about what goes on in there. But first up, to getting this to work, is I need to have the mission select glitch active, because I'm gonna need to use that to set up for something. So there's multiple ways to set up the mission select glitch, but for this in particular, the fastest and most efficient way is just using the person that offers you the Soliana Water Target tournament. So gonna activate that. Don't have to be holding on to anything or anything like that. Just need the yes no dialogue to show up, or the yes no prompt, whatever you want to say. And we're gonna bring this over to someone in the town that has a lot of dialogue. And of all of the people in the town, the main one that comes to mind is the accordion player, because the accordion player has a lot of dialogue to cycle through. 6 dialogue boxes in total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Silver and Blaze positioned in such a fashion so that Blaze is close enough to talk to him, but Silver is not. If you do this properly, when you enter the mission and then quit the mission, the location of Silver and the location of Blaze should be stored. It works like this for all characters in pretty much all scenarios. But the interesting tidbit about it is that when you come back to a town area, when you're exiting from a mission or what have you, is that both the main character and the companion both try to interact with anyone in the town that may be nearby. It doesn't work on people that offer you missions though. They disabled it for that, for, you know, a smart reason, because if you try a mission, fail the mission, and then come back, it'll automatically make you talk to them. But anyone else, you will talk to them. So after doing that, we now have text, but I'm going to need to store that text, but that's going to come later. What I want to do right now is make sure that I have the adequate button presses used while I'm storing this dialogue. So I'm going to take a def, and I'm going to be holding on to the jump button the entire time. So right now I'm holding on to the jump button, and I'm going to be holding on to the jump button for quite some time. I'm going to have to work my way back over to the person that offers you the Soliana Water Target tournament mission, because I'm going to need to activate the mission select glitch yet again. But remember, I get 7 presses total because he has 6 boxes of text. So I'm going to need to do some text box management in the process of this, and that's why I'm going to be holding on to the jump button, because I'm going to explain another trick that I'm going to be using to make sure that I can get a jump out without advancing the dialogue. Now, you don't have to do this. If you just run off to the side and do a levitation, that also works, but I'd rather do a jumping start. Plus, I'm going to have to use this technique anyway in a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is, while still holding on to the jump button, I'm going to pause the game, let go of the jump button, then I'm going to unpause the game and immediately bring up the home menu. That makes the game advance 1 frame while pausing on the first frame available, which is that 1 frame after. So now if I press continue while holding on to the jump button, I should be able to jump at Silver, but the dialogue should not advance any text boxes. Now after that, I'm going to do a levitation. That's going to count as 1 press. Then I'm going to press the action button. That's going to be 2 presses. Then I'm going to press the action button 3 more times, but on that 3rd press, I'm going to make sure that I continue to hold down the action button, because I'm going to need that for later. So without further ado, let's do this. I need the mission select glitch again though, so if I don't get him to talk when I press the action button, I'm gonna have to set this part up over again. That's the jump, levitate, talk, 1, 2, and on the 3rd press, I'm holding on to the action button. Now I have stored dialogue beneath the, I would say, I guess, active dialogue. And that has 1 more button press available, but I'm going to need, well, it has 2 more button presses available, 1 more text box left. Now, I want to start a conversation with this guard, but I don't want to advance the text box whatsoever. So, while still holding on to the action button, pause the game, let go, unpause, and bring up the home menu. Then I'm going to hold on to the action button again, and I should talk to the guard without advancing any text boxes, which is the case, and that's cool. So now I'm going to press the jump button to accept the mission, and that's going to advance both boxes by 1 frame, and now I have 2 stored dialogue boxes. Now, while the game is loading, it's very important to hold on to the start button, because if you don't hold on to the start button, you won't be able to quit out of the mission, and the only way to be able to quit out of the mission is to advance 1 more text box, and that's going to mess up everything. So, hold and start, quit mission. So now I have 2 stored dialogue boxes, and the game is waiting for a conversation to end. The next time a conversation ends, it's going to throw me into the mission that the guard is offering me, which is protect Anna. Now, when I use that text box up, the other stored text box that I have will still be there, but it'll be empty. It won't have anything attached to it. What I need is for to have this same mission attached to that first text box. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. So I'm going to press the B button to advance the last box of the first stored dialogue that I had. Now I'm going to advance frame by frame, because you want to be very careful about this part. At this part, frame 1 is going to be when that dialogue box in the back disappears. When that dialogue box in the back disappears, I'm going to advance it 1 more frame, because on frame 2, I want to hold on to the action button and I want to talk to this guard. Now, you'll know if you did it right, because if you did it right, the screen will be very blurry as it throws you into the mission that you're supposed to be getting from talking to this guard. So, if you notice, this is frame 1. I don't want to advance on frame 1. On frame 2, this is the frame where I actually want to hold on to the action button, and if this is the appropriate frame, the screen should be very blurry like I stated earlier. And it is. So that is the frame. Now the reason why I had to do that frame perfect shenanigan is because the first dialogue box conversation ended. So the game is like, okay, well now you're in the mission. But because I activated on that frame, I have now stored the same property of this mission on this dialogue box. So I'm going to be very careful not to advance the dialogue in situations where I do not want to advance it, because you do not want to advance that dialogue box to the end until you make it to Soliana Forest. And the only way to make it to Soliana Forest is to complete this mission first. So for this mission, you can actually do it without any button presses, believe it or not. And the way that you do that is by despawning enemies. You don't have to actually take out the enemies in this mission to protect Anna. Instead, all you have to do is despawn the enemies, and when you despawn the enemies, that'll make it so that Anna detects no enemies around, and if she detects no enemies around, then she'll just keep running. So all I'm going to do is kind of, bob and weave through these enemies, trying my best not to take damage, because I'm waiting for Anna to get far enough to the point where I can just run back to the beginning, and then she'll run past the rest of these enemies. So I'm just kind of monitoring the back, seeing if Anna is there, and as you can see, she's already made quite a bit of progress. So from here, she's going to stop again because she sees those enemies. Now what I'm going to do is run back to the very beginning of the stage, and when I run back to the very beginning of the stage, Anna isn't going to detect any more enemies in her way. And since there are no more enemies in her way, she sees the path as clear, and since the path is clear, she'll continue on her journey to make it to the end on her own. And when she makes it there, the mission is going to end. So just going to run around, not do much of anything, and I think in about 30 seconds or so, she'll make it to the end and the mission will be done. Now, when I finish this mission, I'm going to have a load screen, and then I'm going to have the next part of the mission come up, which isn't really anything but advancing the dialogue. And I think it's 2 dialogue boxes that you advance, but I should still have the stored dialogue box from the accordion player active. So we're going to get into that now. So it's important that on the result screen, while you may not want to wait for it, do not get impatient and press buttons, because that'll ruin everything that you've worked for. So, okay, it's only 1 box. So, see, I still have 2 more dialogue boxes left from the accordion player. And remember, the game has still got it in its memory that the next time a conversation ends, provided that I do not start any conversations, that's also very important. Provided that I do not start any more conversations, it's going to give me the same property of the mission that I just completed. Now, in order to make it to Soliana Forest, I don't have to press any more buttons, which is nice. So, I'm going to get a loading screen. I'm going to be right in front of the gate to Soliana Forest. I'm going to walk through, get another loading screen, and after that loading screen, I will be in Soliana Forest. But at that stage of the game, I can actually advance this dialogue box 2 more times, because I have 1 for leeway, which is pretty nice. But I have 1 extra one after this one. And after doing that, it's going to throw me back into the mission that you just saw me do, which is a pretty unorthodox approach to doing the same mission twice. I mean, it's a lot easier when you have copycat NPCs and stuff like that, but none of those are available at this point of the story. So instead, we're just going to have to use this method that I just showcased. So advance and advance 1 more time. And as you can see, the game is trying to throw me into a mission, which is the mission that I just did. Just protect Anna. Now, you have to complete this mission. And the reason why you have to complete the mission is when you complete this mission, the game has a position stored for silver and a position stored for all objects with respect to Soliana Castletown. However, for whatever reason, the game does not load up Soliana Castletown. It just takes the last place that you were in. So, the last place that I was in was Soliana Forest. So, that's what's saved. So, since that was the last place that was saved, when I beat this mission, it's going to use all of the coordinates for silver and the objects that are supposed to be loaded based off of Soliana Castletown. But obviously, Soliana Castletown and Soliana Forest do not have the same mapping. So, that's going to cause a little something interesting to happen. And if you've seen my YouTube video, Nothing to See Here, then that's how you get to that point, which I'll have linked in the description as well if you want to check that out. Because in that one I just kind of explore the area, but this is showing you how I got to that area. So now, since I have freedom to press whatever buttons I want without advancing dialogue, I just took out that robot, and instead I'm going to wait here for Anna. This is what you typically do in a speed run of the mission. So I'm gonna wait for Anna to get here, and when Anna gets here, get a loading screen, talk to the guard, and then we get the results screen. And then after that, that's where the magic happens, because as I stated before, the game is gonna throw me to the point, well, it's not gonna really advance me to a specific point in the story, but yeah, once you finish this mission, the game has specific XYZ coordinates for silver, certain objects to load up, certain triggers to load up, and all of that good stuff. But that's not going to happen in Soliana Castletown, which is how it's supposed to happen. It's going to happen in Soliana Forest. So because of that, we get to mess around with a few things. Now, there isn't really, I guess, anything useful that comes out of this, but it is, when I say useful, I mean more so from a speed run setting, or even really a casual setting, in terms of like maybe unlocking something easier or things of that nature. But it's interesting to look at nonetheless, because it gives you better insight on how the game loads up objects and things of that nature based off of where you are in the story, and you know, all that good stuff. So if you notice, I beat that mission, and it says that I'm in Soliana Forest and that I should be trying to stop Dr. Eggman's plans. But what you're going to notice is that when this load screen finishes, boom. So yeah, I'm actually at the point where if this was Soliana Castletown, the door to Soliana Forest would be right in front of me. And that is all of the steps that it took for me to get to the point that you saw in the video, Nothing to See Here. I've been meaning to make a video for it for quite some time, but never got around to it. But I decided that since I was diving back into 06 and I had to come across this point in the story again, I would refamiliarize myself with how this was done, and then archive it so that I could have a way to showcase how it was done. I don't know, maybe spark some more ideas for the future and what have you. So that's how it's done, and I hope you enjoyed this little journey to this little exploit. So there you go.